Hey, it's Rich, the Louisiana hobby guy. Hey, are you looking to get into the CO2 world, but you're on a budget? And are diode lasers getting too expensive for you? The prices are really climbing lately, aren't they? Well, stay right there. Today we're going to be doing a review of the new Monport 40 watt with LightBurn compatible K40 laser engraver. Lost my words there for a second. You're not going to want to miss this one. I'm going to go through the whole setup of it. I'm going to show you the first test, the first run, and some projects that I've done with it already, including some photographs and other stuff. So let's get started. Okay, so straight out of the box, you're going to find that this laser is going to be double boxed, well packed. Inside it, you're going to find all of the accessories that you need. On the left is the water pump, the exhaust hose, there's the focusing gauge, you have your clamp for your exhaust hose, you have some double-sided tape to hold down any projects, your power cable, owner's manual, focusing gauge, there's a spanner wrench there, you've got that mystery tube is some silicone, I don't know why they don't mark it, and some glasses. And the machine comes well protected, well packaged. This is first view out of the box. It is wrapped up in saran wrap, so you'll have to take off that saran wrap. You'll also have to take off the protective cover on this acrylic. All you do is take those four nuts off and peel off that paper, and then it's ready to go back on. And then there's also protective cover on the aluminum. Inside the aluminum bed, I don't like the fact that it's aluminum. I wish it was steel so that you could use magnets with it, but we'll make it work. Hopefully that'll be an upgrade in maybe the next version. I would hope anyway. But yeah, this stuff is a little hard, tricky to get off, but you don't want to start any fires or anything like that. So there's also these shipping screws on the front and rear door. Just take those out and you can discard those. There's no need to have those screws for anything else in the future. I keep all my packing screws, but now taking a close look here, you can see that this laser tube is a brand name, Young Lee, rated at 42 watts. So, I mean, this, it's higher than what you usually get with K40s, and it's a brand name tube. I'm going to say these Young Lee is in the top 4 of CO2 manufacturers. Everything is hot glued in place. Your mirrors are all adjusted and hot glued. You can see that even the cathode side, you have the ceramic block there where your wires go into, your 20,000 volt wires. So that, I mean, it sounds silly, but a lot of companies just put a little piece of silicone tube on there. So I did get the 5200 chiller. And the outlet on the laser goes to the inlet on the chiller, and the inlet on the laser goes to the outlet on the chiller. You want to make sure that you get these hoses all the way on. That's why I left the right side open there. And then all you have to do is just pour in, I guess it's about 1.5 gallons of water. There's a gauge on the back side where you can take a look and see. I just make a little paper funnel and pour the water in that way. That's the easiest thing for me, and then I throw it away afterwards. I don't want to have any debris or dust or dirt, if I use a regular funnel. Then I'm just going to inspect the whole machine. By the way, I do put a couple drops of Tetra, which is an algicide, in the water, and I put a couple of drops of Dawn dishwashing liquid as well, which allows the air bubbles to evacuate the tube very quickly. You won't have any air bubbles if you do it that way. Inside the power supply compartment, you can see that everything is wired nicely and neatly. Everything is hot glued in place, so you won't have any problems with shipping damage, wires coming loose. I will show you a close-up of the power supply and the control board in just a second. Both of them are upgraded. So the power supply is made by Xi, and that is a premium power supply. And the control board is LightBurn compatible. Up on top, You've got your water temperature, your power supply temperature, emergency stop, and your ammeter, as well as your on-off. And there is the whole machine ready to go. I've got it hooked up to the water chiller, and I've also got it hooked up to the smoke extractor. On the side here is where the USB-C goes in. I know you can't really see that. It's not a good enough light there, but that is where you plug it into the control board. All right, so here you can see the Xi. I believe that's how it's pronounced, Xi. That is the power supply. This is the actual control board that runs the LightBurn. It's a Gerbil board, and everything is neatly tied up and in the right place. So I've just turned on the chiller, and I'm coming around to the back of it here, and you can see everything's buttoned up. The water is running, and there are the lines right there, and if you happen to pinch one of those lines, you don't have to really worry about it, because the chiller will go into an alarm mode that will start beeping and let you know that there's something wrong, and that's a good thing to have. I highly recommend staying away from the water pump that's included and use the chiller. Here I have the sound off, but I was just pinching the lines here and the alarm was going off. But you can see that there are 0 bubbles in this tube. There are none whatsoever. And that the reason for that is because I put a couple of drops of the Dawn dishwashing liquid in there. It lubricates the glass on the inside of the tube, and that keeps the air bubbles from sticking and gathering up toward the end, which is a problem that a lot of people have. So there we go. This is about 8 minutes later, 7 or 8 minutes later. It dropped down to the 18 degrees, and I'm ready to get started. I've got the chiller on, and I've got the smoke extraction on, which that is also the Monport air purifier there. And the first thing you have to do is turn off the emergency stop button, which goes ahead and fires up the laser. Now that variable resistor that you see there, turning that is meaningless on this particular control board, because LightBurn bypasses that. So that knob does absolutely nothing. You're going to set your power in LightBurn, so you don't have to worry about that. The only thing that you're going to use on that ammeter is going to be that little yellow test button. So I'm going to just drop a little piece of wood in here, and we will do a pulse test on this. You CO2 users are used to hearing it called a pulse button. On this machine, it's a test button. So there you can see it's got the upgraded drag chain, and it's also got the red dot laser. That way you can position your work. So let's drop something on there, a little piece of wood, and press the test button on the ammeter. And you'll see that it fires up nicely. I did wind up doing a mirror check. I did a scorch test on the mirrors after the first couple of projects. Once I ran the first project, I knew that it was pretty good, and there was nothing to worry about. But if I press that button, you'll see if I press the test, it's going to fire onto the wood, and there you can see it live. So now we're just about ready to go. All right, we're going to get started setting this up in LightBurn. I'm not going to turn the laser on. I'm just going to connect the USB-C cable to the laptop, and I do have audio issues. I did have to film this next door on the laptop, and it has a horrible microphone, so bear with me on the sound quality, but let's get that first setup of the new control board going right now. Okay, so I am now in LightBurn and I am ready to set up the Monport K40 with LightBurn. So let's go ahead and plug it in. And we see that the computer has recognized it, so that is a good sign. I'm going to come over to Devices and I'm going to try Find My Laser and we'll see what happens. So I'll hit Next and it did find it. So you can see Gerbil 300 by 200. So that's good. I'm going to click Add Device. We're going to call this one Monport 40 watt Lightburn. And the size is correct at 300 by 200. So I'll click Next. And it homes to the rear left. So I will click Next again. And I'm going to go ahead and click Finish and say OK. So now I've done this all without turning the laser on. So you can see up here that it says busy right now. And we did not connect. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to turn the laser on and then we're going to see how well this connects. So right now it's just connected to the main board. All right, so here we are in LightBurn. I've got the laser set up. This is me over here. Hello. We're in the console over here. We've done the installation, and the next thing that we've got to do is turn it on and see how it works. So I'm not going to turn the chiller on for this one because we're just going to check it and make sure that it's working. So I'm just going to hit the power on switch right here on the machine, and let's see what happens in LightBurn. So let's come over to the laser tab and right click on Devices. And there it goes, it found it. And it did home properly. So we are good to go here. I'm so happy that everything is going so smooth on this. If we come to the console, you can see over here that we have got the Monport laser and all of the information is in here. So let's go to $. You have to bear with me. I'm on a new laptop here. So new camera system, new setup over here in the wood shop. So it's kind of hard for me to get these things done properly the first time, but we'll give it a shot anyway. So you'll see that all the commands in here are good. We're just going to do one more. And everything looks perfect. So let's just for fun, let's just move it around a bit, see how it responds. So let's see how this responds now. I'm going to click on the map icon, click on the middle of the screen, and we can see that that's working fine. So let's move it over to the right, move it down to the right, let's move it up to the right, all around the work area, and then we'll send it home. And everything seems to be working just fine. So there we go. First run, everything's working fine. Let's run a project on this right now and see how it comes out. Okay, so I decided to get a little creative on this one and start off with something a little more advanced. And I do have a K40 already from Monport, so I do have a basic idea of the settings. This is the file that I run in most laser reviews called Legends of the Blues. So I got some chipboard. This is 8.5 by 11, and I decided to run this as my first project. Actually, I did some test cutting with it first. I did some cutting and verified some of the settings and things like that. And this one came out really, really nice. I was actually surprised because the other K40 that I have didn't do as good a job as this one does. And that's just about finished now. And we can take a look at the results. So here are the results of the chipboard burn, and this really came out Very, very nice. Now my max and min power is off on this, so some of the background on the left and right where there should be some shading is missing. I thought that 15, I think I had 35 max power, 13 min power, and the max power, it was a little bit too high, but look at the letters. I mean, that's the best that I've ever done on a laser. Those letters came out awesome. They're like a 0.5 millimeter high. But I think I had 37 max and 15 min on the power, and I probably should have been somewhere in the area of about 30 on the max and maybe 19 on the min. I don't know. That's going to take a little more testing and evaluating as I create the CLB file for this machine. But look at how detailed everything came out. I mean, this really did a fantastic job. No complaints there with the first image. So I decided to run a couple more images. Alright, so this next one that I just ran is a license plate, anodized aluminum. And I know it doesn't look like much now, but I got to get it cleaned off. Sorry I didn't get the whole thing in the frame here. And this one I ran just a little bit too hot. So again, you know, during the testing on these lasers, they're all going to be slightly different. And while this worked for anodized aluminum on my other K40, it did not work on this one. It ran too hot. But here you can get a look at how this came out once I get all of that cleaned off. It was just a little too hot. If I drop the power by maybe about 7 or 8, that might do the trick, and I should get a much better image on the aluminum in the next one. But you know, other than losing a bunch of detail here and not having a brighter image, it did a fine job on this. And of course I didn't get the picture directly in the center of that license plate, but let me switch over to a regular picture so you can see it a little bit better. Okay, so again, I ran it just a little bit too hot, and you can see that too much of the black, you know, was taken off. And I want to say that probably the difference why my library file is not working on this anodized aluminum, or even the chipboard, or even the wood, everything came out too hot, is going to be because of the new tube that Monport is using, the Youngly tube, in this machine. And it's a different tube than the no-name brand that was in the original Monport that I bought last year. So I really think that tube has a lot to do with this burning so much hotter than the old one did. So after a bunch of testing, I think I finally got the image down for wood. This here was 3mm Baltic birch, and I think it did a really good job on this wood. The picture came out real nice. I'm liking the way that this one worked. I'm going to save this setting in that CLB file. And here is just a little more of the image testing that I was doing with it. I am using the CW 5200 chiller, as you can see there, as well as the smoke extractor. And these are some of the color wheels that I did, and I'm trying to fine-tune that color wheel. Some more of the same picture that I did in different settings, different modes. And I spent a bunch of time working on trying to get down the CLB file for this so I can get the settings right. Alright, so without doing a whole series of cut tests on this, we're just going to jump to the heavy stuff real quick. This is 10mm red oak, and it's actually a little bit over 10mm. So what I'm looking for here is I'm looking for the smoke to come out the bottom, and that'll let me know when it's cut through. So that's the second pass right there, and that one didn't quite get through. So I'm just going to run a third pass on it, and now you can see the smoke coming out the bottom, and that's how I'm sure that it's, oh, I'm sorry, this is the fourth pass. Four passes, and it's cut all the way through. So we'll take that one out and take a quick look at it. There it is. And like I said, it's this is just over 10 millimeters. And this one is 20 millimeters per second, 60% power. So I'll get my tool out, show you that it's zeroed, and you can see here that it is just over 10 millimeters thick. Again, this is a red oak, so it's a good strong piece of wood. I'm also going to run another test on it with 2 passes. I want to see, you know, how well it does with 2 passes instead of 4. So I've lowered the speed down to 10 millimeters per second. And for you diode users, that's what, 600 millimeters per minute. And we're going to run 2 passes on this one. So there's the first pass. Here's the second pass, and this is going to be the optimum speed for 10 millimeter wood. And there we go, that's cut all the way through. So it's a nice clean cut as well. There's not a whole lot of burning going on. You know, there's no scorching. You can still see the wood. So there, I marked that one. That's 10 millimeters per second, 60% power, and LightBurn controls the power on this board. So whatever number you put in for power on LightBurn, that's the power that it's going to use on the control board. All right, so that's it. Overall experience is going to be 5 stars on this. And yeah, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, you know what? You know, you're working for Monport, helping them with their tech support. They're giving you these things for free. You know, full disclosure, this machine I got for free. None of these other machines that you see here in the shop, none of my other Monport machines were given to me for free. I paid for every single one of them, full retail. So you guys have even paid less than I have. But this machine was given to me to do a review on because it's the latest machine. And not only that, it's the machine that I designed. So when I got the original 40 watt back there in the corner, I had a talk with the owners at Monport, and I explained to them, if you really want to have a big seller, a good machine that people are going to say right straight out of the box, can I use this right straight out of the box and get good results? This is what you're going to need. And I compiled a list of things, and one of them was LightBurn compatibility. Another was a drag chain. Another was the red dot pointer. Another was the upgraded power supply. Another one was the Youngli tube. Youngli, Tongli, you know, the Recce maybe, and EFR. You know, pick one of those 4. And obviously it's not going to be a Recce because those are so expensive. But those are the top 4 tubes out of China. They picked the Youngli, which is a good tube. So let's talk about the tube as well. Rated at 42 watts. So when you buy a CO2, whatever CO2 you buy, your tube should be rated at 5% more. Max power should be 5% more than what the advertised tube is. So this is a 40 watt, it's rated at 42. That's perfect, it's 5% more. I can tell you that my last K40 that I got from the competitor was rated at 38, was the max. The one before that I got off of eBay, and both of these were no-name CO2 tubes, by the way. The one before that I got off of eBay was rated at 34 max, and both of them were sold as K40s. You really want this quality tube. This is the heart of the machine, and I can tell you that I am super happy that they took all of my suggestions and they came up with this machine. Now there are a couple things I'd like to see to go even further, which would be an adjustable bed and the air assist. So those are two more really important things. Both of them real easy things to do. I'm going to actually be doing those mods on this particular machine, so you'll get to see that over the next month or two. You'll get to see me install the new laser head, which is super simple to do, and as well as the air assist on it. And I'll be gutting the inside, which is just a matter of taking out a few screws and some stanchions and taking all the metal out and dropping in I think it was less than 30 bucks. I got two 8-inch adjustable beds off of Amazon, and it's just a bed that moves up and down. It's made out of metal. You turn a knob, and you can get anywhere from anti-focused all the way up to, say, about 1.5 inches material. You'd be able to focus properly with that adjustable bed. They're real cheap. They work well. I have it in that one back there, and that's what I use to set the focus on that. And I don't know why the name escapes me. Adjustable scissor jack. That's what it's called. So the two of those scissor jacks are under 30 bucks, and they work extremely well, and that's perfect for focusing. So I'd like to see a manual focus bed, honeycomb actually, manual focus honeycomb, and I'd like to see the air assist. And add those two things, and you've got the best K40 on the market, in my opinion. But one thing I do want to caution you about: don't buy these off of eBay. And don't buy them direct from China. You're not going to save that much money. That's number one. And number two, you're going to get the cheapest possible parts in these machines. And that is the biggest complaint in the K40 world, is, cheap parts that the machines fall apart and so on. This one is quality built. This one has all the right parts in it. It has all the extra parts in it. And if you're looking for an entry-level CO2, this is definitely the way to go, in my opinion. So what can you expect out of a K40 stock, just the way it is? Well, the focal distance, this is a 2-inch focus lens. It's a 10 millimeter lens, 2-inch focus. So it's slightly different from the diode lasers, where if you run a ramp test, it starts off real thick, gets real thin, goes right up to being real thick again, and you have a really small area of perfect focus, maybe 2 or 3 millimeters, and you mark that on both sides and you take your measurement. With the 2-inch lens, it's slightly different. You have a much larger size where the focus is perfect. So when you mark your perfect focus, you're going to be within about 4 to 6 millimeters. So you have that much room in there to play with, where you'll be in perfect focus. So the laser comes stock as a 2-inch focus, which means that it focuses directly onto the bed itself. Now you have about 5 or 6 millimeters of perfect focus there. So anything that you put on there, it's 2 millimeter wood, 3 millimeter wood, slate coasters, 4 or 5 up to maybe 6 millimeters is going to stay in that perfect focus range. So you're going to be good for anything from 0 up to, from paper all the way up to 6 millimeter wood. You'll be in focus with the 2-inch lens. The only time that you need to gut the machine and put in the scissor jack is if you're going to be going any higher than that. If you're going to be, doing moldings or anything larger than 6 millimeters. But I would do that anyway, because I like to find my perfect focus, and I make the mark right in the middle, and that's where I focus to. So that's why I change out and put in the scissor jack. That way I can always have an absolute perfect focus. But you saw from the things that I did here, everything came out good. The coasters came out good. The wood came out good. Everything that I tried, it cuts really super well, no matter what you use. The cutting ability of a CO2 compared to a diode is just, night and day. I think this is a great entry-level laser if you want to get started in the CO2 world and you don't have a whole bunch of money to do that with. So let's quickly talk about price. So Monport has this laser for $579 with the G-code license, $529 just the laser itself. So that's a good deal to get the LightBurn license with it for $579. And they also have a package with the CW3000 chiller that's $669. I mean, this, it's an incredible price. Now, I have mine set up with the 5200 chiller, which is a lot more money, but it has a compressor. So you know that it's going to keep the water temperature stable. The CW3000 does not have a compressor. It's a radiator with fans. Even though they look similar, they're completely different. I would highly recommend that you use the CW5200, but you could get away with the CW3000. So for $669, and then they've also set me up with a coupon code for 10% off. So that would be what, $67 off of that, $600. You could have the laser, you could have the chiller, and ready to go right out of the box. I don't suggest that you use the water pump that comes with it. I don't know why 80 or 90% of the people out there with these are using that water pump. You can do it. You can get a bucket of water, a 5-gallon bucket, put your water in there, drop the water pump in there that comes with the unit, and you're good to go. But that water gets contaminated, and the last thing you want to do, you're using distilled water to begin with. You want it to stay clean and contaminant free. Contaminants will ruin a CO2 tube. Contaminants in the water will cause small little short downs that you won't even see, micro short downs, that will use up a lot of the CO2 a lot more quickly. So you want to stay away from that bucket method, and I know most people use it, but every time you're getting a frozen bottle of water out of the freezer, you're contaminating it with your hands. The air contaminates it, the freezer contaminates it, the dust bunnies flying around in the shop contaminate it, and you're opening and closing. Go with a sealed unit. Go for that $669 or $600 with my coupon code. $600. I mean, it's cheaper than most diode lasers today, and you have the laser and the chiller. And it's a sealed unit. You want to make sure that unit is sealed, and use a chiller. Just use a chiller. Stay away from the bucket method. And I know I'm going to get a lot of comments down below. I've been using the bucket method for 49 years and never had a problem. I know. Well, that's beside the point. You will shorten the life of your CO2 tube if you use the bucket method. I promise you that. Use a chiller. And I'm saying it so many times over and over again because I really and truly believe that that's the only way to run a laser engraver. Yeah, I did do that 2-month test where I bought that ice maker, but that door was closed. It was, it was clean water to begin with, and the door never opened and closed again. It recirculated the same water through the ice maker. So in essence, it was a sealed unit. But yeah, just get the chiller. I mean, this whole package is less than a diode laser. How can you possibly go wrong? So anyway, that's about all I have to say about this. K40 is a great starter CO2. If you're wanting to get a starter CO2, this is a good value. It's a good price, has all the options you're going to need. Just go ahead and buy it and try it out and see how you like it. You're going to love it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video today as much as I enjoyed making it for you. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.